Hola again, this is Laura. We are going to look at the sections 10.1 y 10.2, los tiempos pasados, indefinido y pretérito. Muy bien. El verbo indefinido o imperfecto is this verb that I want you to think about it as the verbo aba, aba, ia, ia. And you know this little guy, conejo, is the one that goes and goes and goes and goes. He doesn't stop. Thinking an action as something that goes and goes and goes and goes without a clear stop, without a clear moment or a specific moment. This is how I want you to think about this verb, the aba, ia, ia verb. The good thing about this verb, talking about conjugation, is that this verb doesn't have many irregularities. We have seen 3 or 4 chapters of irregularities in the pretérito. Now the only irregular verbs that you have to remember in the imperfecto are the ir, ser, and ver, where you still have the ia, where you still have some of the amos, see? So it's not that hard, but those are the only 3 irregular verbs you need to remember. So let's look how these verbs work. I don't want to stop that much in these 2 differences. You do have them in the verb. So let's look at this in images. So the little guy is the one that represents the imperfecto, not the rounded, not the close action, the action that goes and goes and goes, the aba, ia, ia, where the imperfecto is represented by an explosion. One moment, pa, boom, one moment and the action is done. I did this, I went there, done. And that is the pretérito. Another way to see it is the imperfecto is the scenery, is estático. It doesn't have an action going on. When you go to the theater, before the action starts, is what you see. So it's not that the guitar is doing there anything. It's just there. It's in the scene. So when you have to describe this, you will say there was a guitar, there was the drums, but you don't say that the drums are doing anything or the guitar is doing anything. It's just a description of the scenery. See, where everything is there. And then you have the action. And then here she comes, Shakira moves her hips and all that. And that's the action. When you have to describe this in the past, you will say she did this, she did that, she did this. The kids did this, the kids do that. So that is the difference between the 2 verbs in images. The rest of the explanations, you have them in the book, so I don't have to go over them. Now, there is a story that I always tell in my classes about Gustavo and Trisha. This is a real story of 2 of my students that went in 2 of my classes. The first class, I saw how they looked at each other, so I decided to put them in the same group, and from there until today they're still together and they love each other. So in this story, I'm only going to use the imperfecto, because I'm not going to describe what Trisha did or what Gustavo did. I'm going to tell the story, the abuelita story, where there's no action there, but it's just to tell you what was going on during the period, see, of that classes where they met. So this story, here you have this verse that the ones that we're going to use, and we're going to conjugate it in aba, aba, and ia, ia. Hace 3 años, cuando yo trabajaba en la Universidad Miracosta, tenía un estudiante que se llamaba Gustavo. A Gustavo le gustaba mucho hablar, so I don't have to conjugate that. A Gustavo le gustaba mucho hablar con su novia Trisha. Los dos llegaban siempre tarde a la clase y yo me enojaba con ellos. La clase era muy larga y Gustavo se cansaba mucho. Gustavo y Trisha eran excelentes alumnos y a mí me encantaba tenerlos en la clase. Mientras Trisha hacía los ejercicios con su grupo, Gustavo la veía trabajar. So as you can see, this is all the story, but Gustavo didn't do anything in a specific moment. There's no explosion or something that happened and was done. It's all the things that were going on 3 years ago or 5 years ago. And this is an example. And look at that as a possible story for our composition 3. And here is what you will actually have in composition 3. It is a song called El Oso. Very popular song in Argentina. We all grew up with this song during the military coup, because it's a song that speaks about freedom. In this song is perfect for teaching pretérito and imperfecto, because it's the type of story that I want you to write for the final in 102. It's a story that your abuelita will tell you, where you have an introduction. Is purely is the scene. That's the introduction, the scene, where, remember, the guitar and the drums and the other guitar, where nobody's doing anything, but you're describing just the picture, describing the scene. So there is no one explosion verb. And then we have the starter of pero un día, one day. And then we have the núcleo of the story, when things are going to happen. And then, of course, the end of the story, where it ends in a happy ending in present tense. So let's look. I will stop after every paragraph so I can explain a little bit better.
Yo vivía en el bosque muy contento, caminaba sin cesar. Las mañanas y las tardes eran mías, a la noche me tiraba a descansar.
Tiraba is to throw oneself, to lie in the, see, that's what they also did, se tiraba, descansar. So this is the description of what the oso used to do in the forest, all the things that he used to do. Of course, there is no one thing that was done, but all these things that he used to do, see, the once upon a time, or all the things that he used to do when he lived in the forest, muy contento. Here are all the verbs. I think you know most of these verbs. There are some changes in the words here too, because there are many different versions of the song. Every singer has a different word now and then, so you might have differences in the words. The other verb that you might not know, recorrer is go around. That's what recorrer is. Exigir is to demand, and pisar is to step on, to step. Okay? Muy bien, so let's keep going. So this is the description of the oso. Now we are going to start with pero un día. And the yellow parts, those amarillos parts, those are the pretérito, the done action, the explosion action.
Pero un día vino el hombre con sus jaulas, me encerró y me llevó a la ciudad. En el circo me enseñaron las piruetas y yo así perdí mi amada libertad. Confórmate, me decía un tigre viejo, nunca el techo y la comida han de faltar. Solo exigen que hagamos las piruetas y a los chicos podamos alegrar.
Okay, so in this paragraph over here in the enseñaron, the N went over there, sorry. But it's supposed to be enseñaron and perdí, for perder. So in this paragraph, now the action happened. See, the men came and took this poor also to the city. And they taught him a lot of pirouettes, and he lost that way his beloved freedom. In the blue one is the present tense, and we have here one thing that used to happen all the time, not in a specific moment, and that's why it is imperfecto. Conformate, conform yourself, see? Be happy. Me decía, used to tell me el tigre viejo. Nunca el techo ni la comida, ¿sí? Faltarán. Solo exigen que hagamos las piruetas y a los chicos podamos alegrar. And here we go back again to the pretérito and pretérito. Look how the imperfecto could be, or even the present tense, could be in the middle of a paragraph. It doesn't have to be all in pretérito, all in imperfecto. It could be mix of them, but you have to understand the sense of the moment, okay? So most of these things, which are the núcleo of the composition, or the song in this case, are in pretérito.
Han pasado 4 años de esta vida, con el circo recorrí el mundo así, pero nunca pude olvidarme del todo, de mis bosques, de mis tardes y de mí. En un pueblito alejado, alguien nos cerró el candado. Era una noche sin luna y yo dejé la ciudad.
And now the conclusion.
Ahora piso yo el suelo de mi bosque, otra vez el verde de la libertad. Estoy viejo, pero las tardes son mías. Vuelvo al bosque, estoy contento de ver la, 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 la.
Great, he's very happy. So this is how it ends in present tense. Look at the, pay attention to the structure of this composition, okay? Pay close attention. Write another composition with the same structure, okay? Where you start describing the scene, describing the picture, and then you start telling me a sequence of actions that happened, and then at the end, just a conclusion. The conclusion could be in any tense. In this case, it's in present tense, but the conclusion could be in any tense. The introduction also could be in any tense, but the structure I want you to think about is in the structure of imperfecto for the introduction, pretérito for the núcleo, and then present tense or any tense for the conclusion. So that is the type of a structure that you will need for the final. You soon. Nos vemos. Adiós.